Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stadium Cast. My name is Inadequance. You might know me as Martijn.
And I am Lundberger, also known as Amanda. I have to ask you, do you have any controversial takes you want to share before we get this episode started?
Well, we had a pretty good one last time, which was that that Basildon's good, or at least my opinion. That's it's a lovely Pokemon. I think that already is a bad take. I know someone who consistently had them. Yes, unfortunately, he hasn't been around as much. We do see him currently sometimes on Play Pokemon tournaments. Um, I'll give you a hint, Amanda. I
Yeah.
miss May.
Ooh, well, okay. That is a good hint. For those of you who maybe couldn't get it from the hint there, we have CCO on the channel today. CCO for the win. I think that's also his full handle, but we're just shortening it for now. Or, as you like to call him, Chorl.
Troll, yes. His name is Charles. I like to call him Troll. It's just shorter, easier.
I'm going to start calling
Yeah.
him Charlie. I think, see if he likes that.
Yes, he goes by many names that many of his chatters gave him. He used to be one of the most popular streamers on Twitch, one of the most controversial ones, probably. Also, one of the most well known. And currently, he is being a very consistent judge at many Play Pokemon tournaments.
And don't worry, this episode is fairly family friendly. Let's kick it off.
Fair. CCO, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Yeah, all good here. How are you, Amanda?
Oh, this is not my day, guys. This is not my day. No, I'm doing good. I'm really excited to chat a little bit with Charles because I got to meet him at EUIC, and he seems like a cool dude. I'm gonna say you seem much more like low key in person than what I was expecting because I've seen you like on stream for a couple years.
I think a lot of people expect me to be like on stream, Red Bulled up, coked up, almost in a sense. I like to, I guess, exaggerate a little bit on stream. I think if you don't do that, it comes out maybe a little boring, especially when you look at like YouTube voices and like TikTok and all that stuff. Yeah, I think you have to put in a little bit of more energy than normal, but not too much. You can't exaggerate it too much because then you meet people in real life and then they look a little too low key if you want. But yeah, I'm more of like a chill dude in person. I still like to be genuine on stream when I do, which I don't even remember the last time I did. But
By genuine, do you mean giving like bad takes or something?
I mean, if I genuinely think I have bad takes, I should give them. I think being honest is important. It makes makes you feel like more approachable. Makes you feel more normal, and I think it cultivates a better relationship with your chat and your viewers.
Why did you actually stop streaming? We miss trolls. So
it's a lot of complicated factors, right? I always talk about this where when I become into something, I kind of go 100% and kind of never think about the consequences. Like I kind of stop caring about other stuff in my life and kind of just go too hard in a way. And that's with a lot of things, like with relationships, with hobbies, with work, with kind of everything. When I'm into it, I kind of just go very hard, like 120%, never stop. And then at some point, I reach either I'm not improving anymore, or I'm not fulfilled anymore, and then it slowly dwindles down, and it's very hard to pick back up. And I think there's a lot of obviously other factors going into it. Like I didn't have a job for a little bit. I was struggling like with the pandemic. Pandemic was reopening again. Like I could finally go outside and touch some grass. So there's a lot of factors, and not that I don't miss it, because sometimes I definitely miss hanging out with chat and just shooting the shit. But
and playing the Go Battle League.
Yeah, it's mostly forcing myself to I think play the game at this point. I think from time to time I definitely could stream, but I've gotten a bit lazy, and I should definitely try and stream more than what I'm doing. So right now it's basically once every 3 months just to say I got legend
and getting all the subs in. Yeah, I noticed even when you.
Well, it's funny because a lot of my like streamer friends are like, Charles used to go live every month to get the subs, and I'm like, well, what's the point? Like, the people aren't going to sub for me to not go live for a month. So
they do. They actually do.
I know.
I'm actually surprised by how many subs you get.
I know. You would be surprised how many subs I still have, and I'm like, how? Why? Like, what are you guys doing? Just go buy a coffee or a McDonald's or whatever. Do something better with that $5. But
you do realize that this will be put on later, so chat can actually watch this back. Right?
Yes, I mean, I've told them that before, and I look, I appreciate the support, even though I'm not streaming. I think it's stupid, but when I stream again, I'll gladly appreciate the subs you want to support. But I think right now it doesn't make much sense to.
No, you know what, Charles? I have Amazon Prime subscription, and I'm going to subscribe to you right now.
Okay. Well, you would be surprised. Sometimes every time I stream on Martines or GMs or whatever, people start resubbing on my channel, and I'm like, well, I don't get it. But I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying there's probably a better ways to spend your money.
I think
I appreciate it.
I think like people notice that you use your OBS, so when they sub, you actually hear it, right? And
yeah. If they TTS offline and my OBS is open, I hear it. So I guess they're just trolling in a way.
Yeah, if it wasn't on my stream and I'd be streaming myself, I would probably do the same.
That's fair. Look, I appreciate it. I don't want to sound like a ungrateful asshole here, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Like, people want to troll, people want to do whatever. Like, I'm fine with it. I would rather them spend their money somewhere else. But if they want to use my emotes, because I still do have, I still see some of my emotes being posted in some streams.
The CCO dude is one of my favorites. And
this one, the CCO please, and the slam. I think those ones are used the most. Look, if you still want to use them, that's fine. Like, I'm happy for you to sub and use those. Maybe I should make those. Actually, I don't know if they can use follower emotes. I think
you can't use them. You can
only in that channel. Well,
yeah.
I guess you guys have to sub then.
You heard it here. You've been judging quite some tournaments lately, CCO.
Yeah.
Can you tell us how you got into this?
Yeah, it's kind of funny, right? Like, so I wasn't like necessarily having that much fun with the game. Kind of stopped streaming, and I was looking for some way for me to still give back to the community and be able to participate. And I'm at a spot in my life where I want to travel a little bit more. So I think it made a lot of sense to try and like have opportunities for me to travel, go meet my viewers and some of my friends that I've met online through the pandemic, and still give or participate to the community. Like, I have previous experience from also just in general having like done so many Smash tournaments and organizing them. So the organizer side was very easy for me, and then I also have the knowledge just from being a washed up Sylph legend. I still understand the game to some extent.
Of course, otherwise we would not have asked you for E-Rampers.
Yeah, true.
No, yeah. I want to hear that story. Actually, how did you get to be a part of the EU Emperors? Because that is a very exclusive spot. They don't just hand that to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of do it. See? But
that was with the previous captain.
Yeah, it's funny because you look at it and you're like, why? Like they probably had they were like back to back cycle champions in the EU and all that stuff. You guys won worlds as well. Like, why give it to some washed up guy? I think a lot of it is like just hanging out with your friends as well. I think that's factions. And after Worlds, there was a part of me that really wanted to try to like have my foot into competitive again a little bit. And I thought, why not do factions? That sounds like a fun idea. And also, I think the fit made a lot of sense. I don't really want to like play full time on a faction, even though it's once a week. I don't want to get like force myself to play. And I think it made a lot of sense for for me to just join a team that doesn't necessarily need a lot of like subbing time. So like I told Thomas at the time, hey, if I play once every 3 or 4 weeks, or even if I don't play, if I just play once one battle per cycle, I'll be happy with that. And I think it made a lot of sense for Thomas to say yes. It took a little bit of convincing. I think Martijn was a bit more on board than Thomas at the time.
May have had a few drinks.
That's true. Like you always do. You should know Martijn's always the. You know what's funny? Martijn's always the drunkest at all these events, and I always showed up a little later because judging we have to finish up after the tournament. And basically, by the time I show up, Martijn's either completely wasted.
Only once.
What do you mean only once? I've had multiple accounts. Anyways. And then he kind of, at least he's responsible, goes to bed early, drinks a lot of water, maybe pops up a few paracetamol or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the major bummer for me for when you are casting is like, you don't get to hang out with the community as much.
Yeah, I tell you, there's probably like part of me that wants to compete a little bit just to potentially have that again, just be able to hang out more, because judging we do we get up very early and we kind of get out very late as well, so by the time most people are either already done or already very drunk like Martijn. It's most of it, I think we still get to hang out a little bit, but there's also the fact that we're in the community, we're in the organizing or in the tournament staff, so it's also harder a little bit to give, I'd say, our all when we're interacting with the players and all that stuff. But
yeah, so
I agree with you, Amanda.
If you weren't judging them, would you want to be a competitor?
It's a loaded question. There's it involves like when I want to win, or when I want to compete, I want to win, I think. So I know what that involves. It involves a lot of practice, a lot of luck in a sense, and it would require me to, in a sense, like I would have to do good comparatively with like what I get from staffing. Like the risk is way higher when I'm competing, but there's definitely a part of me that would still be there. And some people like to laugh at the tweet I made recently where a dormant beast was awoken. Well, I think that's what I was talking about mostly. Where
big copium.
Yeah, it's definitely big copium. But after playing on stream on Friday or on Thursday at UIC, I was like, I'm surprised. Like I didn't know this was still in me. Like this competitive side. This like I still want to win and play good at this game. So we'll see. For now, probably not. But I might have some plans into it. I just don't want to go 0-2. Yeah. Not only would I be sad, I've a lot of people would laugh at me. So,
so let's say like a CCO in his prime and an Adequance in his prime. Who do you think was the better battler there?
I never played CCO in his prime.
I know.
Yeah. I wouldn't know.
Here's the thing. I think it's hard because I think probably back then people weren't as good. I think that's how it works in competitive games. The earlier you peak, the worse in general you were. I think the fact that Martijn has been good for a long time probably means he's a better battler than me. I would, in my prime, I might have been better than him in my prime, and probably it's probably the case. But Martijn's definitely better than me now. And he has been for a long time at this point. I think that if you look at like who's the top battlers in the world, right? At some point, or like legacy wise, like there's a couple names that come up. Probably Martijn's not there, but he's pretty close, right? I think of like Thomas, like House Stark, like those like very good players from still basically season 1 and still to this day. Martijn's got to be pretty close to that.
I accept his answer.
I hope you do. That's a very nice answer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to say when, sometimes I feel like a prime form is just when you have your alignments well consistent.
That is true.
Because there's times that I struggle with matches where and I look back at them and I don't feel like I played bad at all, but just unfortunate alignment and my opponent also playing well. As you say, many players are getting better too. Like people are now learning their timing, especially people that had a lot of advantage of like falsehood denial back then. They now know it doesn't help them as much anymore, so they get into timing and stuff, right? Which works way more consistent, and I think that really upped the skill level.
Yeah, because I remember a couple things in Sylph where like I would abuse like QSA, like my locals didn't know about that, like the counts. A lot of people didn't really count back then, even though I didn't necessarily count. I had like feel wise, I was way better. It's just like there's so many things that people do nowadays that I look at. I'm like, I barely did that back then, and now it seems everybody like even. Like you just look at some random guy in the bracket and you're like, yeah, how does this guy know this? It's harder. There's a lot more better players. There's more information out there as well. Back then it was kind of like the top 10 kind of knew a bunch of secrets and we didn't really tell anybody because we wanted to be better than everyone. So I think if I give me 6 months with like real practice, I think I could definitely still make it up there. The problem is I would have to practice, and I know I would lack motivation at some point. I still think I could get back to some okay form, probably not top 3 in the world back then, but I could definitely. I that might be some cope, but I think I could qualify to Worlds.
Okay, I'd like to see you try it.
I think I could qualify to Worlds with a full season and like an actual 3 to 6 months practice, and I think I could do it. That's a big statement. But
yeah, you heard it here first.
I wish we could place a bet here, but I guess you're staying into judging.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would make no sense for me to do that.
Such a shame.
I mean, we could. If you really want to. We could.
But I think this is a good point because you did hit Sylph Legend when it was the hardest to do so, because Sylph has made it easier and easier every year, and a lot of people have lost motivation to play Sylph as well. So I think a lot of really good players who were like leaderboarding back then don't even really care enough to enter tournaments. But when you became a legend, you had to pick ahead of time which tournament you were going to wait for your 10 time. And to be able to reach at that point, I think is something credible. So you were good. You were absolutely wonderful at one point.
Yeah, I was definitely good at the game back then. I think nowadays I'm like, it's the same thing with anything. If you stop practicing, if you stop caring and kind of just rely on your talent, people are just going to catch up. And nowadays, you just need to play GBL at a high level. You need to think. You need to practice. You need to scrim. You need to do some team building. You need to look back at your like matches and think what could I have done different. There's a lot more things that go into it than back then. And like you said, don't get me wrong. I was definitely good. I'm still proud of that, and I always sometimes when people say, "Oh, you're washed up," it's like, yeah, I hit legend when it was actually hard. But I look back at it fondly, but I would not get back into Sylph. Except factions. Factions is chill. It's chill. It's fun. Less commitment. You're just hanging out with your friends. I think factions was a good addition to the game.
It's I agree. It's good to have. We need to give playtime actually as well. Because we need the dormant beast to be able to.
Okay.
Actually, I really laughed at the team that you played when you played Scrap and Feet, because it was just such a basic GBL lineup with the Mastodon, Shadowvik, and Defense Deoxys. I was like, oh boy, this is.
I think at first I wasn't going to play that, and then after losing game 1, I was like, okay, I got to try and play something, and Mastodon made a lot of sense just in that meta. If you remove the top 12 of all those bulky Pokemon, Mastodon kind of goes to town. Then Mandibuzz comes back, and there's a lot of things that don't want to see Mastodon. And obviously I have Caleb on my team telling me, Charles, you should probably play Mastodon. And then Shadow Vic was kind of just like a meme pick, but it kind of ended up working
It's a
out
good
pretty
core.
well. Yeah, it ended up working out pretty well. Obviously, I think I watched back a little bit of it, and it seems like the casters in the chat liked it. They were asking for a charmer, but unfortunately, I kind of forgot.
I think the team fit you very well.
Yeah. I definitely enjoyed playing it on stream, and like it's just so much fun. Pete is such a sweetheart, and it was just fun to enjoy the spotlight back then. So who knows? Maybe I'll compete again. Who knows?
Yeah, as our EU Emperor's only winner so far.
True. Only undefeated EU Emperor at UAC.
Amanda, shall we ask final question here to Tio?
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel bad for those. I mean, I'm just going to have to come clean about it so people know. We had this really good, long interview with a lot of spicy topics. He was telling us all these interesting things, and I just forgot to turn the audio up on it. So this one may be just a little bit shorter, but thank you for bearing with us a little bit. Before we do the enders, do you have any controversial takes you want to...
I mean, let's start with one.
Be careful, he's full of them.
Yeah.
We can easily fill another.
I'll start with one that I think is pretty funny. Okay. What's the your podcast name? Brawlers and Machampions? I think it really, if I'm being polite, it really rolls off the tongue. That's all I'm going to say.
She's a genius. Oh wait,
I think I would suggest a shorter name, but that's fine.
Thank you for your feedback. We'll take it into consideration.
That's all I got.
Maybe send a ticket. We'll take a look at it.
Oh God, I'll send the help page.
Yeah. We read all the support chats, so yeah. All right, no, okay. So the end question is actually about the title. So get wrecked.
Okay.
So we're kind of categorizing PvP players into like crib brawlers, which would be like people who are good at the game and then maybe they're scrappy but maybe not super well known, or they could be up and comers. And so who is someone that you think would fill that role? And then also the champions are people who are well known. You've named a couple already, but if you were to name your best crib brawler, I can't even say it now, crib brawler and your best champion.
Like best up and coming. Well, can we even say Wadaj is an up and comer? Right, he's not qualified. Like,
oh wow, okay, we're throwing shade out here.
I mean, I don't want to be biased, but I've been rooting for him for a long time. I kind of want him to. Yeah, I kind of want him to qualify. I think he deserves it. He's a good player. He kind of just gets in his head. So yeah, I don't know if you could say he's a crab brawler still, but until he qualifies, I'll put him there. And then my champion, I'll be honest, I think I didn't know a lot of the EU players at first, but obviously I got to meet a bunch of them at EUIC. I think Human Catcher Bug, I was very impressed with how he played. I know he won, which one was it? Liverpool, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I hadn't heard of him at all, and I saw him play on stage at UIC. Very impressed. Seems really like good. He could take it all.
Yeah, well, he lost to someone who's always tired, right? And as the tournament progressed, everyone got really tired, but there was one player who then is in his element, right? It's the Nut 93.
Yeah.
But I agree.
It is actually my first time meeting Felix. You know that, right? I think
it was.
The first time we've talked was about 4 years ago when we first played in Forest Cup after Sylph, and then we kind of became good friends and we started scrimming together. And yeah, never met him before that. It was just a lot of fun. He's something in person, but we are very similar in a lot of ways. So I enjoyed this company.
Ooh, I want to make one more controversial take then before we go, because you mentioned EU. No, I'm going to give you one, and you can tell me the answer. Who do you think has more talent, NA battlers or EU battlers?
Oh boy!
Oh geez, that's a low question.
Remember, you're with two EU people right
Yeah,
now.
this is hard. This is hard because I'm in the EU faction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this changed at some point. I think early South NA was better. If you include Argentina, I guess. But now I think EU might be better. Yeah.
Just for the record, Argentina is not North America, right?
I know, but that's America. That's fine.
Okay, sure. Then it's all America. Let's see.
I think EU might be better now.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I am dual citizens because I am technically from NA, but
he's also French. Yeah, he's also French.
So I have both. Regardless of what happens, I could say I'm EU or NA. So I'll take that.
Always safe.
Yep, best of both worlds.
Exactly.
All right, Charles, thank you for coming on the podcast. Sorry I screwed it up so horribly before, but any excuse to see you longer is a good excuse.
That's fair. Oh, we forgot to tell that story you told me about. Did Amanda tell you this, Martine, where she met some fan at a bar, and then he proceeded to tell Amanda that he was a CCO fan for 30 minutes.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Pega, and I was like, cool, bro.
But you were also there.
Yeah, but apparently he hadn't met me yet. I don't know who that was, but I kind of want to know a name. But never.
To be honest, it was the first time I had met him. It was not a name that I was familiar with, like in the community. That doesn't mean that they're not like a big part of the community. I just didn't know them, but they definitely knew you.
Maybe they'll out themselves now that this is out in the wild.
Yeah. You'll get a new subscription from them onto
they might already subscribe. That'd be good, actually.
All right. Thank you so much, Charles, for your time.
Thank you guys for inviting me. That was fun.